Despite fans' disappointment, Mercedes' 2023 season has been a vast improvement on 2022. The team are a comfortable second in the constructors' standings, and Lewis Hamilton has cut the gap to third in the Drivers' Championship to 1 point. The Belgian Grand Prix saw the return of the dreaded P word though, so Mercedes' summer development had better have been on point. Today, we'll have a look at what Mercedes has been up to, and where they'll go with the W14 for the remaining 10 races of the season. Let's get started. Porpoising was the bane of Mercedes' 2022 season. Their overconfidence in the preseason meant they wasted one of the two preseason tests by hiding their real car. Once they accepted they'd made mistakes, it was too late to make wide-reaching changes to the car to fix the problem. 2023 has been a different story though. Their suspension changes in the off-season seem to have solved the problem. So, what happened in Spa before the summer break? Lewis Hamilton said after the race he's concerned after Mercedes suffered with significant bouncing issues. Hamilton started third in Sunday's Grand Prix but was unable to make advances on Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc ahead of him, and ended up finishing fourth as Max Verstappen came through from 6th on the grid to claim an 8th consecutive win. It was kind of a non-eventful race, there wasn't much going on and I wasn't able to keep up with the cars ahead of me, Hamilton told Sky Sports F1. Struggled at the beginning, rear end is our biggest issue, and we had big bouncing this weekend, so we're back to the bouncing like we had last year. The team don't know what's caused the bouncing. To me, it is a concern, but we'll work through the data this week and try and figure out what we do for the next race. I know what I want, I'm praying for it, and I'm just waiting for the day we get it. Having had a successful first 11 races, the return of porpoising in race 12, right before the summer break, must have left a sour taste in the mouths of the Mercedes technicians. Talk about ending on a low note. Mercedes brought another sizable upgrade package to Belgium, which featured further modifications to their sidepod design and an updated floor to generate more downforce. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff said the upgraded floor could have been a cause for the bouncing problems returning. I think the floor could have been a reason why we've been bouncing. We're going to see it in the data, and maybe there is something which we need to fine-tune, because I still believe the direction we're going now is the right one, Wolff said. This is risky for Mercedes, believing they're doing the right thing despite the obvious issue of bouncing. That mindset is why it took them almost a season and a half to scrap the obviously flawed zero-pod concept. Toto continued saying, "I've just seen the data and spoken to the drivers, and the main limiting factor today and yesterday was the bouncing. The car was bouncing on literally every straight. Even Blanchimont was a corner where Lewis had to lift, and that's easy flat normally. You're bouncing on the straight, you overheat the tyres and the braking, so it's a vicious circle, and was the main limiting factor this weekend. It's frustrating to check out on holidays like this." After a painfully long 4-week break, we're finally back racing this weekend in Zandvoort, and by the sounds of things, Mercedes have been busy over the summer break. As disappointing as it would have been to end the first half of the season on such a low point, I'm sure it motivated the whole team to work even harder on the car's development. Both championships are pretty much guaranteed to go to Red Bull at this point, unless something insane happens. With no regulation changes for next year though, any gains made this season will be relevant next season as well, so there is still plenty to fight for. The battle behind Max is also the closest we've seen in Formula 1 for a long time, with Ferrari, Aston Martin and McLaren all in the fight with Mercedes for podium places and best of the rest bragging rights. Chief Technical Officer Mike Elliott has admitted that balance is their main focus for the rest of the season. "Everybody has been pushing hard in the factory, so the break is important," Elliott said heading into the summer shutdown. "We'll get more out of everyone too when they get back refreshed. When we return, our focus will be on two things. First, making sure we're learning everything we can and feeding it into next year's car, and then the fight for P2 in the championship. While we want to be winning titles, P2 is still important for everyone in the factories. It's important to show progress from last year and end the year strongly. We want to take the momentum into the winter." Merck finished last season third in the constructors' standings, 39 points behind Ferrari, who have gone backwards since the start of this season. That is a clear improvement for Mercedes, but their fans and the team want more. They want to be winning races. The team are staying optimistic about that. They believe it is possible to do so in 2024. "Our aim is to win championships. Unfortunately, we're not in that position this year, but we want to be next year," Elliott said. "We've got to get that balance right between getting all the learnings we can with our current car and trying to put most of our effort into next year's car. Improving the balance of the car will be of vital importance to that goal." Improving balance is a bit of a vague term a lot of the time. It can mean a host of things. In Mercedes' case, it is about getting the car more settled on the track so it responds to the drivers better. The bouncing means that when the drivers hit the brakes, the speed they stop at isn't consistent. When they go into a corner, the car isn't turning inconsistently either. James Allison explained this saying, "We're also trying to make the car more reassuring for the drivers when they initially turn in. It feels too reactive. And then when they get to the apex, they have the opposite problem, where we want it to bite at the front and it doesn't. It's unstable when you first turn the wheel and then annoyingly dead when they get to the apex. We want it the other way round. That's what we're working on." Everything from the Mercedes team sounds pretty positive. If all we did was listen to what Toto Wolff and his management team said, then we'd feel really good about the next 10 races for Mercedes. But there's always more to it than what the team are saying. The last season and a half has been really problematic for the team. From 2014 to 2021, they were pretty much infallible. Everything they did to the car seemed to work as intended, or if it didn't, then they fixed it almost instantly. That isn't the case anymore though. Earlier in the year, Lewis Hamilton candidly shared his frustrations regarding the design of the W14, highlighting that he had previously flagged issues with the car to Mercedes. His sentiments were not without result, as a revamped version of the car made its debut at the Monaco Grand Prix. However, while the adjustments initially seemed to bring success, the car's overall performance did not show as much of a performance increase as the team had hoped. The pushers and pullers in the Mercedes team, those that make the decisions, have been put under more and more scrutiny this season, and the findings are raising concerns from those outside the team. Sky's David Croft has queried where the influence for changes and updates originates. Is it from the drivers or the engineering team? I worry with Mercedes, who's wagging these engineering changes? Is the engineering team saying we need to be changing our concept? Or is it pressure from those in the cockpit, from Lewis and from George? Lewis is a vastly experienced racing driver, and George has got plenty of experience himself. But you want the engineering team to be driving it because they understand engineering and design and aerodynamics way more than the drivers ever will. But I just worry that the change in concept, did it come from the cockpit or did it come from back at base? Compounding the uncertainty are the staffing changes at Mercedes. Key team members like James Vowles and performance director Loic Serra have embarked or are embarking on new journeys. Croft points out that such transitions are not uncommon for dominant forces in any sport, hinting at the cyclic nature of success. They're losing staff. Loic Serra is heading off to Ferrari, and they'll miss him. And there have been others that have gone as well. We often see this, that dynasties dissipate after a while, and that groups of men and women that came together to create such an amazing dynasty at Mercedes have ticked past midnight and are now starting to wane just a little bit now. We have reported plenty of times over the last year on Mercedes staff being poached by other teams. Mercedes had the biggest payroll of any F1 team when the cost cap came in. The team is limited on what they can offer in terms of wages and bonuses. With a global rising cost of living, it isn't surprising that their staff have been tempted away with higher wages and promotions that Mercedes can't offer at the moment. Perhaps Crofty is right, and the breaking up of the Mercedes technical team and engine teams is the end of a dynasty. Do you think Mercedes will have made any improvements over the winter break? Can they solve the balance issues that have made the car so horrible to drive? Or is the drivers pressuring the team through the press causing them to be misled with their upgrades? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.